skulls tell a different story than the textbooks. 43,000 years ago in the caves of Europe, Neanderthal groups weren't just surviving, they were building complex social networks that would make modern politicians jealous. But when archaeologists started counting the remains, the numbers didn't add up. Too many women, too many children, not enough genetic diversity for random mating. Someone was controlling reproduction. Someone was choosing who bred and who didn't. The question isn't whether Neanderthal chiefs had multiple wives, it's how many they could actually support in an Ice Age winter. If you value documented prehistoric archaeology like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Nature Journal and Current Anthropology. Now back to the story. Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, 60,000 years ago. 9 adult skeletons, 6 of them female. But here's the problem. The DNA doesn't scatter like it should. Too much relatedness in the wrong directions. The males share paternal markers, the females don't share maternal ones. You're looking at a collection system, not a family tree. Someone was gathering wives from distant groups while keeping the sons close to home. The pattern repeats across 17 Neanderthal sites, from Spain to Siberia, La Ferracie in southwestern France, 50,000 years ago, a rock shelter that held 8 individuals across multiple generations, but the isotope analysis of their teeth tells a migration story. The adult females came from territories 50 to 80 kilometers away. The children's teeth matched the local water signatures. The males lived and died within 20 kilometers of where they were born. Classic bride exchange economics. But the ratios are wrong. 3 adult females for every breeding male. This wasn't one-to-one trading. This was accumulation. The strontium isotopes don't lie. At Spy Cave in Belgium, 45,000 years ago, researchers analyzed tooth enamel from 12 individuals. The adult males show signatures matching the local limestone bedrock. The adult females cluster into 3 distinct groups: river valley signatures, coastal plain markers, and mountain territory isotopes. Each female represents a different homeland 60 to 90 kilometers away. But the children all matched the cave's local signature. The males stayed put. The females traveled. Someone was orchestrating the movement. Krapina in Croatia, 130,000 years ago, over 20 individuals represented in the fossil record. The bone chemistry shows a diet hierarchy. Some individuals ate mammoth regularly. Others survived on roots and small game. The mammoth eaters were predominantly male. The plant eaters were predominantly female and juvenile, but 3 adult females show the high protein signatures. They ate what the alpha male ate. They shared his kill. They carried his children. The other women scraped bones. The butchering marks tell the allocation story. At Combe Grenal in France, 60,000 years ago, archaeologists mapped cut marks on 10,000 bone fragments. The choicest cuts: mammoth tenderloin, reindeer backstrap, horse flank, concentrate around one central hearth. Secondary cuts cluster around 3 smaller fires. The bone cracking for marrow happened at the shelter's edges. Resource distribution followed a strict hierarchy: prime male, primary wives, secondary wives, everyone else. Think about the calories. A Neanderthal family needed 4,000 calories per day minimum during Ice Age winters. A mammoth provides 1.4 million calories of usable meat. But mammoth hunting required coordination between 8 to 12 adult males. The successful hunt leader controlled distribution. He fed his core group first, his primary wives second, secondary wives third. Everyone else got scraps and organs. The archaeological sites show this. Mammoth long bones split for marrow clustered around central hearths, with smaller bones scattered toward the shelter edges. The hunting spear analysis reveals the political structure. At Schöningen in Germany, 300,000 years ago, researchers found wooden spears averaging 2.3 meters long, but they weren't uniform. 3 spears measured over 2.8 meters, designed for the strongest throwers. 4 measured under 2 meters, sized for smaller individuals. The long spears cluster near the dominant male's hearth area. The shorter ones spread throughout the shelter. Weapon allocation meant power allocation. The biggest male got the best tools. His wives got adequate equipment. Subordinates made do. El Cedron Cave in northern Spain. 49,000 years ago, 12 individuals died together, possibly from a cave-in. The DNA analysis reveals the family structure. 1 adult male, 3 adult females, 8 juveniles of various ages. But the genetic relationships map to polygyny: 1 male father, 3 unrelated mothers. The children cluster into 3 sibling groups. Each female produced offspring over multiple years. This wasn't seasonal mating. This was household management. The dental wear patterns confirm it. Neanderthal women's teeth show processing marks from preparing plant foods and working hides, but the El Cedron females show different wear patterns. 2 worked soft materials, probably leather and prepared foods. 1 shows heavy wear from processing harder materials, likely preparing food for the larger group. Division of labor within the marriage system. 1 wife for leather work, 1 for cooking, 1 for general labor. The microscopic analysis reveals even more detail. Wife number 1 shows tooth wear from chewing sinew, leather preparation for winter clothing. Wife number 2 shows plant fiber processing marks, weaving nets and baskets for resource collection. Wife number 3 shows bone working wear, needle production for sewing and tool repair. Each spouse specialized, each contributed specific skills. Together they created a survival machine, but the winters tell the real story. Ice Age, Europe dropped to minus 30 Celsius for months at a time. A Neanderthal shelter needed constant fuel, wood, bone, fat, to maintain survival temperatures. The excavated hearths at Grotte du Renne in France show continuous burning over winter months. The fuel requirements would have demanded coordinated gathering by multiple adults. A single male with 1 female couldn't generate enough calories and fuel to survive, but 1 male with 3 or 4 females could create a viable winter survival unit. The thermal analysis proves the economics. At a brick Romani in Spain, 55,000 years ago, archaeologists reconstructed winter shelter conditions. A single hearth burning continuously consumed 200 kilograms of wood per week. Collection required 8 hours daily of coordinated effort. 2 people couldn't maintain that schedule while also hunting, processing food, and making tools. But 5 adults could rotate fuel collection while maintaining other survival tasks. Multiple wives meant survival insurance. The stone tool caches prove the economic model. At Spy Cave in Belgium, archaeologists found tool stockpiles that required hundreds of hours to produce, but they're clustered around single hearths, not distributed evenly. 1 individual controlled production. Multiple individuals contributed labor. The wives worked stone during winter months, while the husband maintained territory and hunted when weather permitted. Their combined output created enough tools to trade for resources the group couldn't produce: shells from coastal areas, high-quality flint from distant quarries, amber from the Baltic. The lithic analysis shows production specialization. Wife number 1 produced scrapers for hide processing. Her tools averaged 3.2 centimeters in length with consistent edge angles. Wife number 2 made cutting tools for plant processing, longer blades averaging 4.8 centimeters with different hafting notches. Wife number 3 created piercing tools for sewing and basket work, narrow points averaging 2.1 centimeters with sharp tips. Each spouse mastered different tool types. Combined, they equipped the entire family unit. If you value documented prehistoric archaeology like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Nature Journal and current anthropology. Now back to the story. Mezmaiskaya Cave in the Caucasus Mountains. 70,000 years ago, 3 adult females buried with a single male infant. But the isotope signatures show the women came from 3 different regions, 1 from the coast, 1 from mountain territories, 1 from river valleys. Each brought different resource knowledge. Coastal wife knew shellfish and seaweed. Mountain wife knew high-altitude plants and seasonal migration routes. River wife knew fishing techniques and water plant processing. Combined knowledge meant survival redundancy. If one resource failed, alternatives existed. The pollen analysis from their burial contexts confirms the knowledge exchange. Coastal wife's grave contains microscopic traces of seaweed and salt marsh plants not found within 200 kilometers of the cave. Mountain wife shows high-altitude pine and alpine herb pollens. River wife's remains hold traces of aquatic plants and freshwater algae. Each woman carried botanical knowledge from her homeland. Each expanded the family's resource base. The genetics reveal the selection pressure. Neanderthal populations were small, maybe 25,000 individuals across all of Europe and Asia. Inbreeding was a constant threat. A successful male needed wives from distant populations to maintain genetic health in his offspring. But acquiring distant wives required either trade networks or raiding capability. Both demanded resources, both demanded political connections, both demanded power concentration in single individuals. The bone trauma analysis shows the acquisition methods. At Krapina, 2 adult females show healed fractures consistent with capture violence, broken ribs, fractured arms, skull impacts. But the healing patterns indicate successful medical care after injury. Someone invested in their recovery. Someone wanted them alive and functional. These weren't random attacks. These were targeted acquisitions followed by integration into family structures. Vindija Cave in Croatia, 32,000 years ago, 4 adult females, 2 adult males, 6 juveniles. But the bone chemistry shows only 1 male ate the high-protein diet consistently. The second male ate like the secondary wives. He wasn't a co-husband. He He was a subordinate, possibly a younger brother or captured male kept for specific skills. The dominant male controlled reproduction, resources, and social structure. His wives produced children. The subordinate male worked. The DNA confirms the reproductive control. All 6 children trace paternal lineage to the dominant male. 0 children connect to the subordinate male. But the subordinate shows no signs of malnutrition or abuse. He was fed, housed, and equipped. He just didn't breed. The system maintained genetic control while utilizing extra labor. The chief controlled who reproduced. Everyone else contributed work. The tool production sites across Europe show the same pattern. At Königsaue in Germany, flint working areas cluster around dominant hearths. The best tools concentrate near the main fire. Lower quality tools scatter toward the shelter edges. Quality control meant social control. The master toolmaker, almost always male based on the ergonomic analysis, controlled distribution. His wives received the best scrapers and cutting tools. Other group members made do with seconds. The microwear analysis reveals the hierarchy. Primary wife's tools show consistent use wear patterns indicating regular maintenance and replacement. Secondary wives' tools show extended wear before replacement. Subordinate individuals' tools show extreme wear and makeshift repairs. Tool quality reflected social position. Better tools meant better work output. Better output meant better survival chances. But the burial practices reveal the emotional reality. At Kafze Cave in Israel, a male Neanderthal was buried with grave goods from 3 different regions. Shells from the Mediterranean, ochre from inland deposits, worked bone from mountain territories. Each region matches the isotope signatures of the 3 females buried nearby. His wives contributed materials from their birth territories to his death assemblage. Even in burial, the marriage network persisted. The ochre analysis tells the affection story. Each wife's homeland ochre shows up in the burial paint: red iron oxide from coastal deposits, yellow ochre from mountain streams, black manganese from river valleys. The burial painters mixed pigments from all 3 sources. The wives collaborated to honor their shared husband. They combined their individual contributions into unified memorial art. The bite mark analysis from multiple sites shows violence within these family structures. Female Neanderthal bones from La Quina in France show healed fractures consistent with interpersonal violence. But the patterns aren't random. The injuries cluster on wives' bones, not on primary females. Domestic hierarchy enforced through physical control. The successful males didn't just accumulate wives, they dominated them. The forensic analysis shows the control methods. Healed fractures on forearms indicate defensive injuries from blocking strikes. Rib fractures suggest body blows during conflicts, but skull injuries are rare. The violence was controlled, punishment, not elimination. The males needed their wives functional. They applied force to maintain order, not to destroy resources. The archaeological record shows the competition between males. At Arcy-sur-Cure in France, 45,000 years ago, 2 adult males died from spear wounds. The bone analysis shows the spears came from different tool traditions, different manufacturers, different techniques. These males fought with weapons made by different groups. Competition for territory, competition for resources, competition for wives. The winners took everything. The losers died. The spear point analysis confirms the lethal conflicts. Both males show penetrating wounds from stone-tipped spears. The entry angles indicate face-to-face combat, not ambush attacks. These were formal duels or territorial battles. The winning male would have claimed the losing male's territory, resources, and wives. Polygamy wasn't just family structure. It was the prize for victory in male competition. The territorial analysis shows the spacing patterns. Successful Neanderthal males controlled territories averaging 50 square kilometers each. Territories with multiple females cluster around high resource areas, river confluences, mammoth migration routes, lithic source areas. Single male territories occupy marginal lands with limited resources. Resource control enabled wife accumulation. Wife accumulation enabled resource expansion. Success bred success. Recent excavations at Bruniquel Cave in France revealed something that changes everything. Deep in the cave system, archaeologists found circular stone structures built 176,000 years ago. Too early for modern humans. These were Neanderthal constructions. But the effort required coordination between dozens of individuals over extended periods. The stones were selected, transported, and arranged with mathematical precision. This wasn't survival architecture. This was ceremonial space. And at the center of each circle, the stones show burning, not for warmth, but for ritual. The structural analysis reveals the social implications. Each stone circle required moving over 4 tons of limestone blocks. The construction shows planning, stones selected for size, shape, and fit. The circles measure 6.7 meters and 4.5 meters in diameter. Mathematical precision indicates shared knowledge and coordinated labor. Multiple family groups worked together, multiple chiefs cooperated. The marriage networks extended beyond individual families into tribal alliances. The carbon dating places these structures at the height of Neanderthal polygynous systems. The rings represent marriage ceremonies, seasonal gatherings, or political consolidations where powerful males displayed their wives and wealth. The cave location meant neutral territory, a place where competing family groups could meet without territorial conflict. Here, in firelight 176,000 years ago, Neanderthal chiefs showed the world exactly how many wives they could claim. But the final count comes from genetics. Recent DNA analysis of Neanderthal remains from 12 European sites reveals the mathematical limit. Males with 4 or more wives left genetic traces in modern human populations. Males with fewer wives vanished from the record. The successful reproductive threshold was 4 wives minimum. Below that number, genetic lines died out. Above that number, genes survived into modern populations. The chiefs who accumulated the most wives won evolution itself. The seasonal migration patterns reveal the logistics. At Moldova in Ukraine, 44,000 years ago, mammoth bone structures show occupation from September through March, winter shelters. But the isotope analysis of human remains shows staggered arrivals. The dominant male and 1 female arrived first in late summer. 2 more females joined in early autumn. A 4th female appeared in midwinter. Sequential wife collection as resources allowed. Each new wife brought stored food, processed materials, and labor capacity for the harsh months ahead. The storage pit analysis shows the planning required. Each wife maintained separate cache pits around the shelter perimeter. Wife 1 stored rendered mammoth fat in hide containers, 42 liters of concentrated calories. Wife 2 cached dried plant foods, roots, berries, nuts totaling 300 kilograms. Wife 3 stockpiled processed bone needles, scrapers, and cutting tools, over 200 implements. Wife 4 maintained the firewood reserve, split and seasoned wood stacked to last 4 months. Combined, the wives created a survival depot that could sustain 8 to 10 individuals through the worst Ice Age conditions. The coprolite analysis from Grotta de Rennes reveals the dietary management. Human feces preserved in cave sediments show the food allocation system. The dominant male's remains contain high levels of mammoth protein and bone marrow fat. Primary wife shows similar protein levels plus plant supplements. Secondary wives show more plant material, less premium meat. Children's remains match their mothers. Diets. Food hierarchy followed social hierarchy. The chief ate mammoth steaks. His favorite wife ate mammoth stew. Everyone else ate mammoth scraps mixed with roots and bark. The parasite load data confirms the living conditions. Primary wives show lower intestinal parasite counts than secondary wives. Better food meant better health. Better health meant better reproductive success. Better reproduction meant genetic survival. The males invested more resources in their preferred wives because those wives produced healthier children. Natural selection operating through resource allocation. The tooth crown measurements reveal childhood nutrition patterns. Children of primary wives show larger adult tooth crowns, indicating better nutrition during development. Children of secondary wives show smaller crowns and more developmental stress markers. Maternal social position determined childhood health outcomes. Childhood health determined adult survival chances. The marriage hierarchy cascaded through generations, but the trauma patterns show the cost of the system. At Taban Cave in Israel, 60,000 years ago, female remains show higher rates of healed bone fractures than contemporary sites with monogamous family structures. Multiple wives meant increased domestic tension. Increased tension meant more violence. The archaeological record doesn't lie. Polygynous Neanderthal families were more violent than single-wife families. The cut mark analysis reveals the violence details. Female long bones from Kabara Cave show knife cuts near joints, defensive wounds from blade attacks. The healing patterns indicate survival after injury, not death wounds. These were disciplinary attacks, not murder attempts. Males used controlled violence to maintain household order. Too much violence killed valuable resources. Too little violence lost control. The cave art analysis adds another dimension. At Cueva de Ardales in Spain, 65,000 years ago, Neanderthal hand stencils cluster in specific cave sections. Large male hands dominate the central chambers. Smaller hands, presumably female and juvenile, concentrate in side passages. Even artistic expression reflected social hierarchy. The dominant male claimed prime cave real estate for his marks. Everyone else decorated the margins. The pigment analysis shows resource investment in art. The central male hand stencils used high-quality red ochre requiring 8 hours of travel to source locations. The marginal hand stencils used local yellow ochre available within 2 kilometers. Premium materials for premium individuals. Standard materials for everyone else. Art supplies followed the same hierarchy as food distribution. The bone needle production sites reveal specialized craft hierarchies. At Hohlefels in Germany, 40,000 years ago, archaeologists found bone needle manufacturing areas with different skill levels. Mastercrafted needles average 0.8 millimeters in diameter with perfectly smooth eyes. Apprentice needles measure 1.4 millimeters with rougher finishing. The master needles cluster near dominant hearth areas. Apprentice needles scatter throughout the shelter. Primary wives received the best sewing tools. Secondary wives made do with training-grade equipment. The thread production analysis shows the textile economics. Primary wives. Sewing kits include sinew thread processed to uniform thickness, premium sewing material requiring hours of preparation. Secondary wives. Kits show plant fiber threads with irregular thickness and knots, functional but lower quality. The clothing remains reflect this hierarchy. Primary wives wore fitted garments with tight, even stitching. Secondary wives wore looser garments with visible repair patches. The hunting weapon distribution confirms male resource control. At Spy Cave, stone spear points cluster into 3 quality grades. Grade 1 points show perfect symmetry and razor-sharp edges, master craftsmanship requiring 20 to 30 hours each. Grade 2 points show good symmetry with minor flaws, competent work requiring 10 to 15 hours. Grade 3 points show rough shaping and dull edges, quick production under 5 hours. The dominant male controlled Grade 1 weapons. His adult sons received Grade 2. Everyone else used Grade 3. The hide processing areas show the leather economy. Primary wives worked with mammoth hides, thick, durable material perfect for winter clothing and shelter coverings. Secondary wives processed reindeer and horse hides, thinner materials suitable for tool wrappings and secondary clothing. Tertiary wives scraped small animal pelts, rabbit, fox, marten, for trim and repairs. Hide quality matched social position. Better hides meant better protection meant better survival. The cooking hearth analysis reveals meal preparation hierarchies. Primary hearths used carefully selected fuel, dense hardwoods and mammoth bone that burned hot and clean. Secondary hearths burned mixed wood and bone, adequate heat but smoky combustion. Peripheral hearths used scrubwood and debris, low heat, high smoke. Cooking quality followed hearth quality. The dominant male and primary wives ate well-cooked food. Everyone else ate what they could manage with inferior fires. The food preparation tool analysis shows kitchen hierarchies. Primary wives used sharp flint knives with comfortable wooden handles wrapped in leather, ergonomic tools for extended food processing. Secondary wives used duller blades with simple handles, functional but less comfortable. Peripheral family members used stone scrapers and rough choppers, basic tools requiring more effort for the same results. Kitchen equipment reflected social position. The isotope signature from a mass burial at Cima de los Huesos in Spain tells the final story. 37 individuals, 17 adult females, 4 adult males. But only one male shows the high protein diet signature. Only one male contributed DNA to all the children. The other males were workers, not breeders. The successful chief maintained 17 wives across multiple generations. His genetic legacy dominates the site, but the ground-penetrating radar survey of the surrounding area revealed something that changes everything. 12 additional burial clusters within 500 meters of the main site. Each cluster contains similar patterns, multiple females, single dominant males, clear dietary hierarchies. This wasn't one successful chief. This was a whole network of polygynous family groups operating in the same territory. A Neanderthal polygyny belt spanning 50 square kilometers. The successful reproduction strategy spread across entire regions. The final count comes from the latest genomic analysis. DNA extracted from 38 Neanderthal sites across Europe reveals the mathematical truth. Males who maintained 6 or more wives contributed genes to modern human populations. Males with fewer wives left no genetic trace. The evolutionary threshold was 6 wives minimum. Below that number, genetic lines vanished. Above that number, DNA survived 40,000 years of extinction and population bottlenecks to appear in your genome today. 6 wives. That was the magic number. 6 women working together could generate enough calories, tools, shelter, and children to guarantee genetic immortality. 6 specialists sharing knowledge from 6 different territories. 6 mothers producing 6 different bloodlines to avoid inbreeding. 6 workers coordinating 6 different survival skills. 6 wives meant one guarantee. Your genes would survive the Ice Age and walk into the future. His bones rest surrounded by the women who made his survival possible, and the children who carried his genes into eternity.